Hello, today is April 20th, 2024. As always, we'll start with our disclaimer. We'll go over our calls and we'll make some predictions. This is my trading plan for Monday, which is April 22nd, 2024. Please remember, my calls can be completely wrong. Any trade should be made at one's own risk. If you're not familiar with how the MEJT system works, please stop the video and read this. And more information about the system can be found here. Well, we called for the pattern with the early low, and that's what this was. And on Monday, we were looking for the pattern with an early low once again. Now, we called for a large gap at the open, and even there was a gap. There was a gap at the open, but even though we had a huge move overnight, by the time the market opened, it wasn't large. Here's just a reminder of what we said. We said also a good-sized reversal can occur, but until I see it, I wasn't going to be confident that the drop's over, although I think in terms of time we're close to a low. Doesn't mean we're low, and doesn't mean we're close in terms of price. These are the patterns I think we'll see next week. I put some asterisks here because a lot of times these intraday patterns are clear. Lately, these patterns in the cycle haven't been all that clear, and people argue about whether it's an early low or an early high. I'm confident that's right, but I'm just going to say that it's not as helpful as it normally is. Well, we have a new MEJT target, 49.83.97, and unless we gap down smartly, I'm going to say that should print. During the day, we got an early MEJT sell signal. We got the minimum early, but nothing says you have to stop at the minimum. This drop and this rally were called false, and they've already retraced. This drop is also called false, it hasn't retraced, and gives us our target. For those who like Tom DeMark's stuff, these are my combo counts in green and my sequential counts in blue. These don't have to go to completion by any means. If they do, they tend to be more accurate in calling lows than calling tops. But if they do go to completion, and if they do work, they have to wait for 13. Well, let's start out with the longer term picture, and then we'll work our way down to what I think will happen on Monday. Longer term, you've completed a huge ABC. I think we're in the early stages of a bull market that probably will last years. And we've completed 5 waves up. So that's wave 1 of some degree. We're in wave 2, and we're looking to find the end of, if not wave 2, at least wave A of 2. Now, there are any number of ways to do that. You can do it with sentiment indicators, you can do it with wave counts, you can do it with Bollinger Band reversal signals. There's all kinds of ways to come up with a place where a drop can end. None of them work every time. If you have one of those places, it's a candidate for a low. Doesn't mean it works, but it's a candidate. If you don't have one of those places, it's not a candidate, and you're going to keep on dropping. We've had quite a few candidates all the way down which haven't worked. That's why I said until I see a reversal, I'm not going to risk any money on it. But when candidate after candidate after candidate fails, and particularly some good candidates, then regardless of what happens Monday, it's telling you this drop is not over, even if we recover Monday. This is one of the most reliable patterns there is, and that didn't work. This is called the European trap. We had this huge overnight drop. I think it was over 80 handles, late Thursday, early Friday, followed by a recovery into positive territory, actually near or at the open. Whenever there's a news event like the Israeli attack on Iran or any other news event, a huge move in response to that news event tends to get reversed promptly and completely. You'll remember the night President Trump won the election in 2016. Futures were down the limit, and by the time of early trading on the following day, we recovered in the positive territory, and that marked a major low. When you have this big drop and a big recovery that fast, all the Europeans who went short here are trapped, and they have to cover. By the time you recover here, they have to cover or they're going to lose more. This is a usually reliable signal that the market's going to continue higher. And when it fails, it tends to fail big. That's true for any signal. When they fail big. And signal after signal, plausible places for this drop to end have just failed to deliver. And when that's happening, it's telling you we have more to go on the downside, even if we recover on Monday. Well, here's where we are. I don't see any signs of a low yet. I mean, RSI continues to drop. We had this trend line. We're seeing all these hits. We said if the drop is going to stick, it should gap under that line. Well, that's no gap, so I think we're going to recover at least to that line. That doesn't mean the drop's over, but we're looking for a recovery to this line, which doesn't have to happen Monday, but often will. We have the higher target. Usually it'll print Monday. I don't know exactly what the wave count is here, but we have a valid A and we have a valid B from the top, and I can count 5 waves down. It's the ratio you normally see. 1, 3, and 5 have this good ratio. But if that's wave C, it doesn't have to have a fib relationship to wave A in red. It doesn't have to, but it usually will. And since there isn't a relationship, I suspect this is just an A wave, that we're going to have a B, and then another C with a lot more to go on the downside. That's a suspicion. Doesn't make me right. But I don't think that's wave red C, even though there doesn't have to be a relationship. And even though there could be a pullback here, I don't think this drops over. Well, Monday's pattern has the early low regardless of where we open. Typically it's a rally day with a high in the final hour. If it's weak instead, we should see more weakness, and often the pattern is ambiguous instead of being clear and strong. Long term, I think we're in the nascent stages of a bull market. I think it has much further to go, much further. Intermediate term, I can't count this pullback as complete. I have reasonable targets from the low 4800s to the high 4600s, but when the targets are that far away, I don't have any assurance those are going to work. Short term, there are a number of reasons to look for a recovery of sorts Monday, with a big caveat. That doesn't mean we have to close higher, just that there's a number of reasons to look for a recovery. We have a higher MEJT target. If we don't get down smartly, the rules call for it to print. VIX is given a Bollinger Band reversal buy signal. We didn't gap below a significant trend line, implying we should recover to it. Friday's midday low held at the close. And one can count 5 waves down. The caveat is multiple areas from which a recovery would have been valid have failed to work. The European trap buy signal failed to work. Now, no signal works every time, but when so many fail, it implies the drop is not over, even if we do recover Monday. At some point, I think we're going to recover from this and have a big rally. There are a number of characteristics at the high around Good Friday which tell me it's going to be recovered at some point. And we could have a recovery Monday. But even if we do have a recovery Monday, I think we're going to drop more before the rally resumes. It's the pattern with the early low. The pattern isn't always as clear as we'd like it to be, and that's today's call.